I hope this doesn't catch fire. Okay, let's try that. And then, funny story about this candle I have here. This is me and my husband's wedding candle that we lit in our ceremony, but it has 3 wicks. And the issue is that you now light the wick together, and we walk up to it and it has 3 wicks, and we couldn't figure out what to do, so we just lit one. And so one of the wicks is burnt just a little bit further than the rest, but it smells lovely. It's rose and vanilla. A little fun story. You're also wondering, Eden, this is a new outro, unless you're new. This is not normal. Not outro, intro. Please don't touch my fingers. Hang on. To which I reply, yes it is. I'm trying to harness the power of hygge for the podcast today. And lighting candles is a good start. So hello and welcome to another episode of the Let's Get Kraken podcast. If you are a new viewer, welcome to my podcast. It's really nice to have you here. I really appreciate you clicking on the video to spend some time with me here on YouTube. So grab a drink and whatever project you're working on, and we will talk about all the yarny goodness. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. I totally went the wrong way around that time. Well, we'll continue with it. For an introduction for all the new people, hi, I'm Eden. I'm the owner of Kraken, where I sell my own handmade treasures, such as progress keepers, my own pattern designs, and hand-dyed yarn. You can find me on Instagram as Crafting Kraken. You can also find me and my patterns on Lovecrafts and Payhip. So we're playing around a lot with light today. As you can see, this crazy brightness. This is just natural daylight, glorious sunlight, but it's super bright right there. But anyway, and I've got some candles going, and the reason behind the candles, I used to light candles a lot on my podcast, and you couldn't see them before because I had nowhere to put them when I sat on my couch to film the podcast, but now we have candles back right here. They're lovely. I started reading the little book of hygge, and it is so delightful, and it's really cool to learn about hygge. And so I'm trying to make my little home a little more hygge. I don't know if that's the proper way to use the word. The book tried to explain it to me. So candles is the beginning of that, and having some good daylight and not using the bright light bulbs that we have down here. It's great at night. It helps not make it feel so dark and dreary, but we're here to harness the power of natural light in this podcast in hopes that it will bring you in and subscribe. Yeah. This is such a weird introduction if you're new, but I'm weird. That's just the way it is. But I have lots of yarny stuff to talk to you about. I have an exciting finished object. I have a couple new whips. And most of these are blankets to talk about. So that works for me. First I'll talk about what I'm wearing. I am wearing my spring autumn jacket by Rook Knits. I knit this out of a Finnish yarn. If you want all the real information, I would go back to last podcast. I will link it down below, but this was just a sport weight, 100% Finnish wool. It is lovely, The pattern is amazing. I'll just get up. I like this new spot so I can stand up and show you in full of what I'm wearing. It's huge and comfortable. I feel so awesome in this, and the wool is lovely. It is an entirely garter cardigan, and it is done where I start from the back and I knit up, and then I split and just knit the two fronts. Then I pick up stitches and knit the sleeves completely flat, and then you just seam up here and through the arm. You pick up the band and knit that. It was so easy. I started this project when I was sick and I just couldn't use my brain for too complicated things. This was perfect. I would totally knit this again. My only concern is that I use a sport weight yarn. It calls for a worsted weight yarn that is a big gap, but I just knit a bigger, well, actually I knit the regular size, but I went up quite a few needle sizes to get gauge, and the wool bloomed nicely so that I wasn't worried about too much of a meshy fabric. But it's nice and light and warm, and it's perfect for the weather as it cools down. So that's the only yarny thing I'm wearing today. But let's just move on to the exciting finished objects. I did it. I didn't fully make a promise of this, but I kept my word, and I finished my Bits and Bobs blanket. Woohoo! So if you don't know, this is the Bits and Bobs blanket by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. It is a completely fisherman's rib blanket. It is wonderful and squishy, and this took me almost 4 years to knit. So I started this in the Christmas of 2018 with the Dragon Horde yarn and Yarn Cafe Creations Harry Potter Advent Calendar. It was year 3, so that would be Prisoner of Azkaban. And it just took me a while because I would lose steam on it and set it aside for a little bit, but then I would come back and do it more. And as the next holiday season approaches, I know my goal is to make a blanket every Christmas within Advent. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I like doing it. And I didn't want this to sit for another Christmas. But it's so awesome. I use the needle size called for. There's no for a blanket, you just make it whatever size you want. I cast on the recommended stitches that Kay used. And yeah, I just knit until the mini almost went out. I had to switch the yarn I held with it off the bed again. And I'll just hold it up here. Whee! Yeah, it is big and so cozy. Yeah, I held the minis double with an alpaca based yarn. That was kind of the thing without, but I had to switch because I ran out of it a third way through, changed to a different alpaca yarn, ran out of that, so switched to another alpaca based yarn and did it. But that's all the white, and all the minis are here. It's so exciting. I just finished this yesterday. It hasn't been blocked. I don't know if I'll block it anytime soon, just because it's perfectly fine as is. It's super stretchy and super cozy. I'm gonna say super a lot today. That's my my word for most podcasts. But it's so wonderful. I mean, the squish is incredible. I'm sure I've said that at least 3 times already, but it is true. So, I actually kept the original names for this Advent. This was what the 100-gram hank from the Advent calendar was in. It was a Hufflepuff themed yarn because you buy the calendar based on what house you are, so you can get your house colors and the 100-gram skein. I'm a Hufflepuff, so I have a Hufflepuff yarn somewhere in my stash. I haven't used it yet, but I should. There we go. But look how, oh, it's so squishy. I'm gonna do this again. It's so wonderful. But yeah. Oh, I was gonna go through the colors. So let's see. See if I can do this. All right. We have Honeydukes, Inflating Aunt Marge, Lupin, which I've knit my husband a pair of socks out of because I love the color so much, Night Bus, Marauder's Map, Bogart, Time Turner, Buckbeak, Divination. Okay, we gotta move it down. Alright, Nation, Fiddleless Charm. I'm sure there's a proper way to pronounce that, but I don't remember that one. Wolfsbane Potion, Crookshanks, Care of Magical Creatures, Dementor's Kiss, Hogsmeade, Scabbers. I hope this is going okay. Scabbers, Hagrid's Magic Motorbike, Firebolt, Patronus, Azkaban, Three Broomsticks, Sirius Black, Shrieking Shack, right there, and Zonko's Joke Shop. So that is very cool. I'm so happy to have this finished. I think my husband was more lost than I was when it was done. I had the relief, like, yes, it's not on the needles anymore. And he's like, I don't know how to deal with you not having that on the needles anymore. Not having that go-to project. But now it's done and I can move on to my other blankets. Which I do want to ask your opinion on last year's Advent blanket that I have on the needles right now. Now that this is done, I am debating something about it. So we'll get to that when we get there. But that is my finished object. It's so good to have that done and added to the blanket collection. I have quite the collection of blankets. I like being cozy in a special blanket. This is I do. Checking. These flowers are fake, so I'm just gonna check every once in a while that it's not caught on fire. Okay, let's move into works in progress. I'll move on to my other blanket here. Or I'll move on to the one I wanted to ask your opinion of. It's probably a better segue. So in here, this is a bag I made. It's just a Labyrinth themed, because Labyrinth is probably my favorite movie of all time. It's so magical and weird and wonderful. But in here I have my blanket that I am making out of the advent calendar that Amy Kate of the Graceful Tangle and I traded our yarn scraps, and we made them advent calendars to share, and just it was so cool to do. I've never done that before and it's awesome. But this is how far I've gotten on it. Now these are not full 20-gram minis. They vary in sizes just because they are scraps. And I'm just knitting a garter. I'm trying to do this like a square, so it'll just be like this. And you can see the garter in there is just amazing. I love garter. But what I've learned from the Bits and Bobs blanket is that if it's knit, it's going to take me a very long time. Just like anything, knitting takes a little bit longer. It uses less yarn, but it does take longer than crocheting. And with this blanket taking almost 4 years to be done, I don't want that to happen to this blanket, but I'm not even a full like quarter the way through the entire blanket. This is the first 12 days. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 more days to go on here. So my question is, do I keep going? I know this is a lot of work, but I'm completely okay with taking it out and crochet it. Thinking I would crochet it into one giant granny square. But I don't know, because I do love this. I do like it as the way it is, but my concern is it's going to take a very long time. I don't really want to spend another 4 years on a blanket like this. I will be crocheting this Christmas's blanket for sure, but I don't know. That's my question. I'm doing this on size 2.75 millimeter needle, so I'm just knitting fingering weight. So it takes a while, not even holding it double. So that's my question, if I should take it apart or not, or just like keep going and just be okay with the fact that it's going to take a long time. What do you think? I need help. I need opinions on that. I know I would enjoy it either way. It's not that I don't like it, don't like doing it that way. I'm just concerned that I'm going to get tired of it, like I did this blanket. I don't know. We'll see. So, move on to a blanket that I am never going to grow tired of, is my scrappy blanket. Oh yeah, and this is not a pattern at all. This is just my own. It's not a design, it's just my own recipe that I made up in my head. My husband made a baby version for our nephew, and then I copied him and started making one with my advent. So this is the Neat Ripple Blanket from Attic 24. And it's just wonderful. I'm so happy to get back at this. I've done so much. Is it Progress Keeper? Oh, here it is. I have done that much. This is the last podcast that I showed you. I've done about that much. Back up once again. Backing up. I'll take the hook off here. Let's get some yarn space. It's a nice thing about crochet. I can just take the hook off and show you, even though I'm in the middle of a round. Row? It's a row. There we go. Don't catch on fire. I'm not close enough to do that, but there it is so far. It's looking so cool. Yeah, I'm crocheting this with my fingering scraps held double, so that creates the marl. I'm just going to fold it up here as I'll show it to you. I'm using a size 4 millimeter hook, crochet hook, and the Progress Keeper on here is something that my little brother made me. It's an apple. I thought it was so sweet, so I threw it on there. Yeah, so all my fingering scraps held double, and I'm making it pretty far. I had 3 giant cakes the last time. So here's the one I'm connected to right now. This is the biggest one. I switch between the 3 cakes to kind of evenly spread out the marling, so that if I get like a whole 20-gram mini and then all of a sudden another one starts, it's not going to be a huge chunk of color. I would like it a little bit spread out. So here's my 3 cakes right now. I'm almost done this guy. And then this one. And then this one. It's so cool. I switch between them, and I throw in little bits of scraps from other projects. I've got some here. These are little bits of leftovers from my bits and bobs that wouldn't make it another row around. So I just threw those in here, and I've got a 20-gram weight mini. I love this. This is my morning crochet now, and I just love scrappy projects, and I know this will be done so quickly, without a doubt, just because it's crocheted, but also it's so interesting to see how the marling is going. It just pulls me right in to just keep on going. I am doing this in the Happy Scrappy Mal, hosted by Jana of Finnish Knitting Stories. And it was such a great motivation to do so. I highly recommend seeing the hashtag that's going around on Instagram. Just look up, Finnish Knitting Stories. Look her up on YouTube. I will leave a link to her down below. I will remember this time. I think I forgot last time. And she is Keto Knits on Instagram. But oh my goodness, it's so much fun. I love the scrappy blanket, and I will continue to be throwing scraps in throughout the year. And it's just in another labyrinthine bag. Surprise, surprise. It is a ginger snap bag that I just adore. They're so cute. But it's perfect for a blanket. It's huge, and I've got lots of space, and there's a pocket in there to keep my scraps in and my scissors in, just in case I need them. I think that's all I need to talk about of this blanket. Flower still okay? Yes, flower still okay. Sweet. And it smells good in here. I wish you could have like a little bit of smell in there. I feel like I'm entirely scatterbrained. I know I've hit all the points of these projects, but I'm going here and there so much. So I'll try and, with my last two whips, I will try and keep my brain in place. So I talked about this last time, that I wanted to do another DRK everyday sweater by Andrea Mowry. And I asked both here and on Instagram what of my own hand-dyed yarn colorway I should do out of my DK colorways, and you all, it was a fight between Basalt and First Mate, which is my really gorgeous deep red. They're both on my Whirlpool DK base. My goodness, you could never tell. It's a holy yarn. Look at that halo. I mean, if you want to get the highlights of a halo, there you go. Wow. But it's so soft, and you can see the halo on there. But anyway, let's hold it over here where you can properly see it. Like the contrast. Wow. Anyway, keeping my brain on track. Terrible job. But Basalt won. This is a gorgeous mix of light gray and dark gray. It's not really black, but it's a deep, deep gray. And this is on my Whirlpool DK base, which is a 2-ply non-superwash merino wool and 1-ply superwash merino wool. So you have the mix of what makes that barber pole effect. So the superwash takes in the color more intensely than the wool does. And it's just wonderful. And the wool is super soft. And Basalt is one of my most popular colorways that people look at. I've noticed that a lot of people look at it, a lot of people are interested in it, but it hasn't been sold that much because it's hard to tell how it's going to knit up. So I thought, oh hey, I'm going to knit a sweater with it. It's a perfect excuse. So here it is, the DRK Sweater by Andrea Mowry. I'm just working the yoke right now. I'm trying to hold it up nicely. It's tricky to do. But oh my goodness, it's soft, it's cozy, and the fabric is amazing. I love this yarn so much and how it gives you, it looks like salt and pepper. But it naturally makes it look like you're marling two colors together, but you're just doing the one. And it looks beautiful in a very simple sweater. It would look beautiful in a more I think it would look really cool with cables because it's not going to take away the cable itself, even though it's a two-toned yarn. It blends together really well, as you can see. So you could totally do cables with this and it would look great. I am using a little bit bigger needles than called for. I'm knitting this on 4.5 millimeter needles. My gauge was a little smaller. I ran into this when I knit my first DRK sweater, which I was wearing in the last podcast. I held fingering double and my gauge was a little small. So what I did is I went up a size because I didn't really want to re-knit the yoke. So I just increased more. This one I went directly to the size I had increased to. So I'm knitting the size 3. And it's going to be a bit baggy, probably. But I'm okay with that. I think it's going to be really cozy. I do like the sweaters I have, but I've found that I'm not drawn to them as much as my oversized sweaters. I like wearing oversized things. So if this is a little bit bigger than my regular sweaters, I'm okay with that. Hopefully. My only concern is the shoulders, just because I have petite shoulders. I'm a pear shape, so it's like regular size body, and then I've got bigger bottom. Like, how would you put that? It's a pear shape. But I've also heard it described as like Pixar mom body. Why am I having this conversation? Anyway, I have little shoulders. So it's going to be a little bit of a drop shoulder, possibly. My concern is it's going to be a little big. Now that I actually have gauge, I might have been better off with smaller gauge and knitting a bigger size. But hey, we're too far to go back now. I'm not going to be concerned about it until I split for sleeves and can see how wide it's going to be. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, the star of this sweater really is the yarn. Yeah, I would highly recommend. This is shameless self-promotion. But yeah, I have this on DK and fingering. I have basalt on both. I'm going to be dyeing up some more basalt to throw into the shop. It's about 246 yards and is a 3-ply. So really good for a DK hank. And if you're somebody who likes wool, this is fantastic. If you're not sure how to get into wool, I would recommend this yarn because it is soft and you have that strand of superwash that will, I don't know, keep it on the entrance into 100% wool. Working with 100% wool can be scary, but it's really a lovely thing to have in your wardrobe. If you're allergic to it, I'm sorry. I feel so sad for you. But if you're wanting to get into wool, this is fantastic. You just treat this yarn as you would 100% wool, but it is safe. I don't know how else to explain that it's a good halfway point. When you're getting into knitting with 100% wools, you just have to remember that it doesn't stretch and it will bloom. So this one is a good entrance into that. Yeah, one more show of this. I told you I would keep track on my brain. I'm all over the place. I just had my first coffee of the day and it's like at its peak of just zoom. I'm still young enough that caffeine affects me. So that's why I'm a little crazy. I'm happy today. I'm in a good mood. And the sun is kind of going away, so we'll have to wrap this up for the podcast. We're getting so yeah. Basalt on the DRK Sweater by Andrea Mallory. A great pattern, very easy and simple. Super quick. Uh-oh. There we go. I'm knitting the size 3. That's fine. Okay, last but certainly not least is another project I'm doing in my own hand-dyed yarn. I am doing some fingerless gloves. So this is crocheted fingerless mids. This is the Hobbit inspired fingerless gloves for guys by Jen Spears. So, and this is just a set of wonderful fingerless mitts. I've made quite a few of these, and I am making the bomber ones, which are these guys down here. I've made these ones so many times. What are these? I think they're Ori. No, Oin. They're so nice and simple. So I am doing this in my, again, Whirlpool DK in the colorway Chocolate, which is one of my favorites. It's just so pretty and such a nice deep brown. It's very rich and warm. And I've got one almost done here. I have to weave in ends, and then I have to crochet the patch that goes on the knuckle there. And it's very simple. It's just single crochets all the way through. You increase for your thumb, and then you just cut that off. Well, not cut that off. You skip it, and you have your thumb gusset. I'll do it on this hand. And the pattern calls for a worsted weight and a size 4mm crochet hook, but I'm doing this in a DK weight and using a 3.75mm, which is an F hook. And it is perfectly fine. Me and my brother have the general same hand size. We both have very slim hands. I don't know how else to explain that. Long fingers, slim hands. Kind of like we don't play the piano, but pianist hands. Weird thing to explain. But it fits awesome. I'm not worried about it being tight. I will block this. It has a little bit of space, so that's good. And yeah, I'm just going to put the patch right there. And you can do both of them completely the same. It doesn't matter if you do left or right. You just put the patch on the outside, and that's how it defines your left and right hands. And I've just got the second one going here. Got a little Kraken progress keeper, and remind you in the end about polymer clay progress keepers. Yeah, so I'm just single crocheting away. It is wonderful, and our sun's going away, so I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon. But yeah, oh, I love how this yarn works up. This is definitely a good way to explain the crochet. It just blends. It just looks like a variegated yarn, and it's super soft. When you work with it, it seems to get softer the more you work with it, which is so cool. Yeah, so that is the Hobbit inspired gloves by Jen Spears. I got this years and years ago. It's been in very early on in my yarn adventures, so I don't know if it's still available. I got this while I was on Ravelry. I'm not on Ravelry anymore, so I don't know if this is available anywhere else, or even if it's still available on Ravelry. I will still look for it and link it for those of you who are on Ravelry. You could probably get it. I don't know. It's a great collection though. I've really enjoyed it, and I've made so many of them for so many people. And yeah, as it is for men, it's super easy to just downsize to more of a woman's size for smaller hands like mine are just a little bit smaller. So I just go down to a DK and smaller hook, but even if I'm using worsted weight, I do generally use the smaller hook, the 375. And that's how I work around that. I'm just looking at pictures. I'll show you one more time. Now that the sun's gone, you can probably see this very well. So yeah, very easy project. That. will be pretty quick. So those will probably be done the next podcast easily enough. Yeah. I haven't worked on any of my socks. I have not worked on my Hobbit sweater in a while. It's just sitting, taking a little break. I'm not mad at it or anything. I'm just not in the mood to work on it. But I do know that if I jump on what I want to make right away and satisfy that, I wanted to knit another sweater with my own hand-dyed yarn. Great. Hop on there. I'll do it. I'll probably finish it, and then I'll be ready to get back to the Hobbit sweater. I always come back around and I'm not bored of it. I'm not tired of it. I just needed something simple to do. Yeah. Flour's still good. No burning here. That is good. And yeah, so that is all the projects I've been working on. And so far, why am I saying so far? So far it's been good. I'm just going to throw in a little bit of talking here if you want to stick around. The shop is still having the sale for polymer clay progress keepers and earrings. All progress keepers made out of polymer clay are $5 Canadian, and all earrings are $10 Canadian, which is a smoking deal if you ask me. Shameless self-promotion. But I am not going to be making anything out of polymer clay anymore. So they'll be on sale, and once they're gone, they're gone. They will be on sale till the end of the year. And then once the end of the year is passed, I will be taking everything that's left off. Just keep it for myself, or maybe I'll give it away as gifts to some friends and family, some other yarnies. Yeah, so if you want something that you see in the shop that is made out of polymer clay, hurry over and grab it, because you're never gonna see it again, unfortunately. But I'm excited to get into painting progress keepers more, and it's been an interesting experience. Yeah, I have a few. I'll be having a shop update soon for hand painted progress keepers, which I do out of watercolor paint and coat in resin, so it's very small, but you have this tiny little painting, and that's my passion for progress keepers right now, is hand painting them. Okay, so yeah, polymer clay clearance sale is still on and will be on till the end of the year. I'm going to mention it in every podcast, but if you see something in the shop that catches your interest, snag it, grab it as quickly as possible, put it in the cart and run. Well, buy and run, but anyway. Yeah, my brain's everywhere right now, but that's okay. I was happy to come and sit down, get a little bit of sunlight. It's gonna disappear now, but that's okay. Just to film a podcast, and yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, whatever time it is there, that you have some wonderful yarn time, a wonderful cozy drink, and that you just have a wonderful day. Okay, I will talk to you next time. Bye.